I first got my Mellotron maybe March or February of 2021. Space is always a premium, and I wanted to try one out first, so I have the Micro, and I've been using it in the traditional ways that you might think one would use a Mellotron to capture that vintage Mellotron sound. But true to my personality and nature, I've been trying to do things with it that you wouldn't think you would want to do with the Mellotron, just to kind of expand my sound palette and my compositional palette to where you don't even think it's a Mellotron. But being able to manipulate the sound, the timbre, the pitch of it in real time, not like a plug-in, is what I'm all about. I love the hands-on of it. And to use the emulations and from the tape of the original Mellotron from Mellotron, so I know that it's co-signed and thumb stamped approved, made me feel even better about getting that vintage Mellotron sound. I use it on a pre-recorded track for a recent Jennifer Lopez performance for a Global Citizen concert 2021. And I've used it on a few TV shows and a few other performances. And then I'm using it now on a bunch of trailer cues and some TV cues where we're using the Mellotron in, for lack of a better word, some non-traditional Mellotron ways. I start my inspiration off with the dry sound when I know I'm going for that vintage Mellotron sound. The song that we did for Jennifer Lopez for the Global Citizen concert, we did the song Sweet Caroline. So I use it on that one in a traditional sense. But when I'm doing more sound design and patch creation or sound creation, I usually just plug it through some stuff because I want the sound of the effects and the sound of the processing to actually kind of backwards engineer it. The processing and the sounds are actually informing what I'm doing on the Mellotron instead of the other way around. I might start off with I want to use the flute sound or the marimba sound or one of the Mellotron organ sounds, and I know I want to make a pad or a drone or a lo-fi type of lead patch. I'll kind of start there, but I immediately start patching it through analog gear and filters because there's a sound in my head I'm hearing, but I want to also keep the journey of turning knobs and not knowing what's going to happen. That beautiful part of the organic process of it. Just like most of our lives, there's roads and little twists and turns, and sometimes you don't know what you're interested in until you're exposed to it. Where I'm from, Richmond, Virginia, and in the era that I grew up in, it was about gigging. It was about being a jazz musician or a pop musician or a funk musician or classical. So for a long period of my life, it was, being a jazzer, being a keyboard player, touring keyboard player. I've even done that since moving to LA almost about 20 years ago now. But I've always been interested in sound engineering. Like I didn't go to school for engineering. That was all through a graduate degree from the School of Hard Knocks. And I've also, as far as sound design, that was just the School of Hard Knocks and the School of Curiosity of getting into that. One of the hard lessons I first learned when I moved out here as a keyboard player is that, when you're touring with an artist and they're using a piano patch on their record, you just can't pull up piano 1 on whatever keyboard you're using and say, that's it. But if it's a 90s house tack piano sound, you needed to learn how to program that keyboard to sound just like that. Whether you're using main stage with plugins or hardware keyboards, you're recreating that record for the live performance. At one point in my career, I was an in-house composer for a trailer house it's not there anymore. So from the biggest movies of the time, this was maybe in the 2010 when I was doing this, is that learning how to program a whoosh. And what is a whoosh? Pink noise, brown noise, blue noise. I didn't even know there was a such thing as brown noise until then, and how you get the whoosh to move and the Doppler effects and things like that. Again, that's all going into fueling my interest in sound design. That all then translated into me using it for live. I always wanted to make the live performance experience like watching a movie or a trailer. And all of us that work in the live arenas know that there's video walls, laser content that all want this now cinematic thing component to the performance. And now it's just continuing to be that journey for me where it's the composition, sound design, programming, and traditional musician, keyboardist thing all kind of into one, with my love for analog gear and engineering, kind of helps me keep my voice because I'm constantly constructing. I don't want anyone to ever hear a patch that I'm using and can say, oh, that's from the new Mellotron, or that's from the new keyboard X or keyboard Y. I never want to use the patch the way it is. I like just initializing the gear and then starting a patch from scratch. I own the Micro, which is a lighter touch that gives me more of a synth type of touch. So I'm able to play less pianistically on it, but more synthy. And at the same token, it reminds me of like a traditional organ, where I don't use a sustain pedal or anything like that with it. If I'm doing chords or anything like that with it, I would play it as if I'm playing an organ, like an organist would do, where I'm playing finger legato to make up a term, as opposed to having the sustain pedal do it. So the build quality of it is great, and it just has a really nice keyboard feel to it. The key bed is nice and deep, so I don't feel like I'm hitting the bottom of the key bed of it, so it feels great. I am always reaching for one of the flutes. Maybe the Strawberry Fields is always going to be stuck in my brain, and just that classic flute sound from the Mellotron. Number 2 might be one of the Mellotron string sounds, the kind of tape string sound. But usually I have my patch B on the Mellotron always at one of the flutes. And then number 3, of course, I know this sounds like a safe answer, but of course the organ's in there. So I'm always reaching for the 3 of those in some sort of starting point. And so those are my favorite sounds. But also what I like to do is all of us, like my piano teacher used to tell me when I was in college, is that try to compose away from the piano, because we always reach for the keys that are comfortable to us, that your fingers are just used to going to. So sometimes I'll turn on my Mellotron and I'll really act like I'm on Wheel of Fortune. And I'll just close my eyes and I'll turn the knob a couple of times for the B one, then I'll close my eyes and turn the knob a couple of times for the A one, and just kind of get a potluck patch, because you always kind of go to what you're used to going to, because you know that sound. But like many of our pieces of gear, you don't really explore it a lot. So sometimes I like that randomness of the universe of me just spinning it on something, and I would go, oh, I never thought about picking that one, or why did I never see that one? I wouldn't have thought about picking the choir patch, or something like that. So I like to do that as well, as far as when I'm reaching for something with the Mellotron. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And it's all true.